about the same cost.
Well, thanks for staying up late with us.
say
This
it's
is
11.
Duelist. I am here with Leeko and Direwolf.
69 historically in this
both
match has
helped
been the
with parts of the
Prime
tournament,
for us.
and well, in case Direwolf helped run significant parts of it.
really
Wouldn't be
torn
possible
between a
without him,
Warthog and a
and
Warhammer
Dyer's
Prime.
helped us with his community manager
What's
role
the
alongside
difference in chunk?
Bird Thing to help promote
lot.
some of the things, but their teams did
Standard
pretty well
that's
today, and
standard
Yeah,
we're going to
there's
give you
three
a
hours in
little bit of a
DPS.
haphazard
Jamek,
post-game
where's
show
your green paint?
here. We're going to start up talking
Oh, yeah,
uh,
sorry. I'll
with results.
grab
So I'm
green.
just
I was
looking at
trying to
the
be
challenge
tryhard.
bracket right now.
I mean, what
We
you do
played
get, like, the DPS may be lower, but
we
the
played
alpha
a,
on the Wimby Prime
8-game
is not to be underestimated.
Yeah.
we played a
So
yeah,
what's
that's a
our
good point.
52?
All right,
I'm
that
thinking about
should
it,
be the
and
correct
it's
link.
48.
Oh,
So
48.
we played
Fuck,
a
my
round
brain
robin
is-
involving 7 rounds
Maybe a
of
Chimera
8 teams
Charlie.
playing each other.
Are you good with that one?
I can drive a
Playing
Chimera
each other
Charlie.
over the past 2 weekends.
But no
Originally it was
ammo.
going to be 1 weekend, but Dyer,
Ammo's free in-
sometimes
in
these things
this
take a bit
format.
longer, but that's all right.
Yeah.
And everybody had fun
I'd
with
rather
it,
take
so
the
we
Foxtrot, but I
cleared the
feel like the
schedule,
Charlie
came back
probably has
for the
more
second
drop
weekend
down.
here, and we got through about half of it roughly last time,
What do you-
and
we
then
think
this
they're gonna
time
be
we
slow
played the
and
second
stationary?
half. And just looking at the
I don't know.
at the results, Leeko and Direwolf,
not trying to think about
any
counterpicks, I'm trying to think
surprises
about our
among the
strengths.
standings on
And I
some
think the Chimera
any team
Charlie
surprised in this
bombs the most
tournament?
damage for what we can
Yes, the number 1 slot
get. Just,
Yeah.
I mean,
of
if
Bashar's
you're
team, or
significantly
VAA's
if you're
team,
significantly more
was
confident
formed
in
quite
the Chimera
literally like
Foxtrot,
2
you
minutes
can
before
pick
the
that
bracket
and
began
focus on
last week,
CCing their-
and
Wow.
had a consistent
dangerous
roster
unit.
both weekends and ended up top of the
So I
scoreboard,
think the Charlie
undefeated
will,
until its very last game today.
be good damage.
Okay.
Yeah, there's certainly something to be
We're
said
playing
for
Follow the Atlas,
unpredictability.
don't get caught out.
The Republic Guardians are certainly an upset for this tournament. No one really saw them coming. They're thrown together with a group of people who were just kind of there on the day of, ready to play, and they've been crushing the tournament.
Sure, because they'll probably
Yeah,
switch
all
to
incredibly
the,
good players in their own right.
the
Very
Atlas
common pub players,
as
but I don't think they've ever
struggling
played
thing.
together
And if they
in
do
Even
focus
though
like,
I
honestly, like,
twist.
Yeah, certainly
two
never like
Blood
this.
Raven,
Yeah,
yeah.
last one alive.
Yeah, never in a format like this. I've never seen Blood
So,
Raven play like
If
single
they
life
have
drops.
something really mobile, like
So
a
this is just
Thor,
like,
or,
I mean, I kind of expected
I
they
don't
would do
know,
pretty
some
well,
fast
or
medium.
at least reasonably well, but I didn't
If I
think they
go
would
down,
end up
don't ignore it. Don't
like,
let them
pretty much
carry.
undefeated the whole time.
If something is really
They also
low, you
beat
gotta
the
finish
second
it
place
off.
team, which was undefeated entirely
got
until
this
that
guy.
match, 2-0.
Right
Extremely solid.
One of the-
Wolverines went very hard in this tournament too.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, the Wolverines. Wow, they are certainly reborn in this tournament.
What's the
I
plan
mean,
if they're sitting on
I
a
didn't
mountain
see
now?
that coming at all.
Bob got good
Um,
internet. Look at how scary it
Always.
gets.
Yeah,
Ah.
and I mean, Serial Mascot is also relatively new on the scene.
Don't get
He
pulled
wasn't
ahead of
around the
them.
last time we did one of these 3v3 tournaments, not to my remembrance anyway. And I think the three of them, along with Deimos, are a really strong team, and I was very pleased to see them do well in the tournament, and surprised to get crushed by them early on.
Now, speaking of the Jade Falcon Guards, originally your unit was going to have 2 teams. A couple of technical difficulties brought that down to 1. And that first weekend, I was a bit surprised. There were a few matches that your team had a few things not go your way.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, there were a few factors there. A few of our stronger players couldn't make it. You know, not to throw any shade on any particular players, I feel like we have a pretty good average skill level. But, you know, some of the people who I originally intended to have on my team couldn't make it. And people were also cycling in and out due to their mixed availability, which was a bit chaotic. So our roster wasn't entirely stable last weekend. And also, it's been a while since we played together in a competitive format like this, so we kind of had to shake the rust off, which I'm sure was true of many of the other teams as well.
And
So it took us a few games to get going, but...
And yet the second weekend you come on in and you went on a tear.
Oh yeah, we were undefeated today. Well, you know, so like I said, there's a few factors there, you know. More stable roster this weekend. And I also think that our most fearsome opponents, the almost undefeated Wolverines and Republic Guardians, were our first couple of opponents last weekend. So...
Yep, I was about to say that.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
we were really on our
He's
peak
still in
form
the open.
today, though, I would say.
Now, Dyer, you got bounced around a little bit, having to help out with some of the teams. Who were some of the teams that you played for in this tournament as a merc?
Actually, only played for one team, which was the developer team, because Invictus was not able to come, and I do not think I was able to quite take his place. But I was proud of how I did today, for the most part. I did fight CJF, actually, and lost pretty badly. I promised I wasn't throwing.
Yeah, you made us work very hard
sweating
for
very
it.
hard. I was sweating extremely hard both of the
so
games
was I.
that we played.
Close against MRMs.
I was let's see. I played for the devs versus Clancy Fox, which we won 2-0, I believe. Let me check. I forgot the score. No, I think it was. Yeah, it was actually. It was no. It was 2-1 because the first match we got blown up very hard. C Fox managed to pull a Bushy Prime on Glory, which is not a map that you would expect a 900-meter list to work, but it won.
Nicely
And
done.
then
Nice.
we managed to come back on Boggs with a really solid like brick of armor. It's just kind of like at that point, I was like, you know what, let's try and do lists that are a little bit simpler. And the last time I was able to have some really fun exchange on Frostbite, tanked really hard. The other matches we played today were against Wolverines, where I think we went pretty close the first two games. The first one was honestly like it was like a duel between two very weak assets. It was like anyone's game. That Wolverines clutched out. Second game, we had a pretty decisive victory. But third game, Wolverines had a really devastating comp of two Hewitts on Dune that we were not ready for. I'm
Don't
also
say
a little
those words. You're activating my trauma.
This is the thing that is the thing that actually is this. I'm gonna carry this loss on me because the list that we built, I think, could have probably countered theirs, but because their list was basically limited to 900 meters, we had two 1200-meter assets in our list. And like the plan was that if we see them, and we could like either choose if we want to close to 750 meters and go really heavy on that, or we can keep kiting if necessary.
Oh, okay.
But
so you were
the map was
one shot from death,
like especially
basically.
dusty, and they had a couple of assets with GCM, so they saw us first.
Jamek was pretty fresh.
They just like were sitting in a place that
50%
usually
on an
acquired
Atlas
us like within
torso is a lot
900
of
meters
armor.
or so, and
Yeah.
crippled our 1200-meter assets, and we were basically just done in the first
If I
volley.
had jumped back there, I would have been at like
So if we had a bit more foresight,
40
we probably would have built a different list
70
with more
CT,
electronics.
But I just wanted to.
But I'm still proud of how we did for the most part.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't know what
I
to shoot first. I just want to add that they focused me down
two
first,
Hewitts
on Dune against the Wolverines is the reason why. All other things being equal, I started by banning Dune every single game this weekend.
IS assets tends to confuse people.
Yeah.
Now, Leeko, if you could
Because
find
none
in
of
your
them
stream
are
the
really
timestamp for us against maybe one of the good
VPS
matches
or the
against the
scary
devs and
thing
Dyer, I think that might be a good
necessarily.
highlight for us to look at here a little bit later in the post-game show.
Oh, you could stream or look at this CJ perspective versus
need to
me,
do
but
it,
I don't know how exciting it was because it was a lot about positioning.
So
Yeah, we were repositioning and trying to find ways around to get you most of that match.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Moving back to the bracket, I didn't know what to expect out of my SJ Mostly Heartless team. I knew
I just
that
don't want to have to play on
Joey and
Frostbite
Architect have
like,
been doing pretty well in pubs. They've
circle around
been
forever
doing
on a cold map.
pretty well at getting better in organized gameplay, doing pretty decent as individual pilots. But we weren't quite sure of who the third pilot would be, and they end up
so our band
securing
for-
Kidson, who's
Is
a
that in
pretty
the
decent
list?
pilot, and
Oh,
they
he's a
all-
very
think,
strong player.
For some reason,
Yeah.
duelist
they
only
all find a
seems
way
have
to
over-
work together
Yeah, but
behind the scenes,
that's not-
and
Yeah,
no,
you should
on
watch
the
our
list,
game
we
against
have
them
6
on
maps.
Carbon. That one was really good. Actually, all of our games against SJ today were really good. They were very close games.
now you played them in which round today?
Don't vote.
That was our first game of the day. Actually, was it Carbon or was it Glory? The one where, no, yeah, it was Carbon. It was the second game. I'm trying to look for the timestamp on my own stream here.
I did not see any of your games with SJ. I read it, but I'm glad that you two had them. And bias memes.
Played
But yeah,
themselves.
I was surprised that SJ was doing extremely extremely well this whole tournament. And
Yeah,
still
they
did
were
well.
tough opponents.
And that brings us around here, as we can see up here. This is those are the top 4 for now. The devs.
It's 27 minutes is the timestamp for the game I'm talking about.
All right, let me see if I can get it loaded up
Oh,
here.
no.
We'll start our
Or-
highlights by giving that a watch.
Alpha set. Actually, more like 26 minutes. That's going to
How
be
are we gonna-
supremely annoying. Thanatos Alpha
Let me
on
see this.
Carbon. So we're gonna have to go chonkity chonk chonk, out alpha strike their jumper. We had oodles of splash damage. We had 3 PPCs. We had a.
Need to critique your gameplay.
It's gonna be defensive rather.
Last weekend I spent a lot of time watching the Falcons play, but not this much. Not this one as much because I had to play.
Free damage vometer.
I think I've got the bulk of it on the stream here. So yeah, 26 minutes roughly.
Yep.
Looks like currently looking at Jamek
side by side.
Dead Salmon.
Ideally, Jamek
just said
would be able to get damage with his X-Pulse, so I will try to take aggro, and I do think...
Yeah, maybe we should make a shout out to Dead Salmon. This is his first time doing 3v3s.
But I have the Ultra
really solid play.
Dead Salmon is very new to Mechwarrior Living Legends and competitive gaming in general, and he's been a real surprise. A great pickup for us, very strong player.
I mean, we're pretty fast.
I've been very pleased to have him in the tournament with us.
I wish this thing was full screen. I've got it a bit cut off, but it does look like I've got something loaded here from about 28 minutes in your stream. And you just fired off a heavy PPC, so you have a heavy PPC B pod and ER medium B. Do you recall what asset that was?
Yeah, I think we want to push. Yeah, so I was in the Avatar Foxtrot, which is mainly the heavy PPC and an Ultra Autocannon 10. And Jamek was in an Avatar Prime, which is mainly X-Pulse lasers and some other guns. And we had an Uziel for backup, which wasn't really that important. And we basically had a straight-up brawl with the Smoke Jaguars here.
Okay.
This was also this is one of my favorite lists. Also.
I've got it loaded.
We did the same thing against the York.
On the live stream, it's about 43:25 right now. So let's just have you two walk us through what you see here, either on Leeko's stream or on my stream.
Great here.
Right.
Shouldn't be too big of an issue.
We just find
let's see. I'm at 43:30 on my screen.
All right.
Why reinvent? So I'm just leaving the base here, and
make sure we check left.
This is pretty early on, but we're basically looking for a very direct engagement, and we tried to look for the shortest sight lines that we could around the middle of the map.
Yeah, this is very much a list built around like 500-meter damage.
We are
Knew it. Yeah, there's not much to see right now because we're just leaving our main base and going over our strategy.
We had almost an identical comp when we fought WR devs today.
Contact radar.
Also, Scorpio Avatar and Avatar Prime. Our third was a Goblin Alpha instead of a Uziel. But I think we probably had pretty similar game plans.
Something that I'm always paying really close attention to at this stage is my positioning with my team. Something that I build my list concept around is who runs into the enemy first, and I've made contact with the enemy team here. We decide quickly which target we're going to try to kill first, which ends up being the Thanatos because Joey line of sights us around behind the hill. So Jamek and I are trying to remain abreast to confound the enemy targeting. And Kidson kind of messes up his jump here, and I think that pretty much cost the SJs this game here. So I'm about to go down here, and my last words are finish the Thanatos. Because I see he's almost dead. And my worst fear on a low-grav map like this is that a jumping mech is going to sneak away and spend the rest of the game with almost no HP left, contributing its damage still. And Jamek takes a risk here. He crests on the hill, and both of them are kind of mixed in amongst the enemy, and he manages to finish off the enemy Thanatos right as Dead Salmon goes down. And so Jamek is in a 1v2 here, which is a very stressful situation. If you don't make every move correctly, they're just going to get around behind you and cut you apart. But Architect and Joey got separated here, so Jamek was able to focus Joey down, or Architect down rather, in short order.
Fucking G.
Not sure why you.
And I wasn't sure how damaged they were at this point. This is actually a mirror match between Avatar Primes.
Yeah.
But I learned after the fact that Jamek had the upper hand here in terms of remaining armor.
Do mechs overheat on carbon easily?
Absolutely
No, this
not.
is a cold map, very cold map. So those X-pulse lasers can basically fire forever.
If we don't count the match where Leeko crashed.
Yeah, that was very, very tense for me.
Good lord.
That's 2 out of 3.
Something honestly I've always been surprised about is that we didn't see. Like, I don't think I ever saw people doing like jump snipey memes on this map, like applying red or anything. But I was kind of expecting it.
I see the Avatar's remaining armor here is very low, something like 30%
Good lord.
remaining.
I think the damage mass rate is like always extremely nerve-wracking, especially when you're spectating. You just don't know how much health they have left.
I'm writing down everything.
Our chimera or their chimera? It was HG.
Why did we see carbon so much in this tournament so far? That was selected a lot of times.
We had the AC-10.
Really dynamic map.
AC-10.
Extremely cold, has really low grabs, so if you want to have like jumping assets, you can do a bunch of interesting things with it, though nobody really like made that the center of their list. And there's also a lot of different ways to play it. Like, there are some really long sight lines, but then there's also a lot of areas where you can like, there's also a lot of ways to break contact easily. So just there's like pretty much you can build lists for almost any engagement bracket, as long as it's not extremely close or extremely long.
Got a second video loaded up from last weekend. I'll give you guys links. Maybe that'll work better.
Okay.
But this was the most interesting match I've saw from last weekend. Certainly probably top 3 after this weekend. So let me know if you guys just want to follow along watching that at home, or if you want to follow along watching that on the stream. When we're all set, I'll fire it up. It's a pretty short match. It's round 3 on Glory, mostly Heartless versus the Mercenary team.
I'm ready to start whenever you are.
All right. Leeko, you good?
Yep.
All right.
I started the video on my end. The SJ team is just cresting the hill here.
Yep. I don't think I saw this one. Oh wait, I know how this ended. I didn't see the beginning.
Yep. Well, I'll let you two pretend you're seeing it for the first time and tell me what you see.
Well, I didn't see very much of this match before that, but yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Smoke Jaguars versus the Mercenary team, the Connoisseurs de Urban Mech.
Also thrown together at kind of at the last minute, but they did pretty well.
Yeah, they're the other Mercenary team of the tournament, and they put on a pretty good show.
Yeah, despite what
they tried some very interesting tactics.
Yeah, despite whatever their set win loss rate might look like, they performed quite well in a lot of their matches, and they definitely did experiment with a lot of interesting strategies, some of which worked.
Yeah, I always enjoy the Mercenary teams because they can be quite unpredictable. They try novel tactics that other players never consider.
I'm not sure what Thor that is.
And that was Kentax popping in to say hi into the streaming channel, which is fine. They're trying to get the heck away here. The Mercs team can fight at this range. Why did the teams always fight over that center hill? It just blows my mind.
I don't know. I've never fought. Actually, so far in Glory, I've never fought anywhere near this place.
I usually try to stay away from the rocks because you get beat up, you know, getting peeked around the rocks too easily by jumpers.
Yeah, it's hard to coordinate that sort of deal. Oh,
Architect and his Rack 5 Bushwhacker. I saw that a lot this weekend.
He's a big fan of that particular asset.
Yeah.
Just loads of DPS. The
Jaguars have very good positioning discipline and focus fire here, but Architect went down. That actually kind of surprised me there. They're getting enveloped now because they're in a 2v3.
I'm really impressed by. Yeah, I think they just kind of completely started ignoring UFOs.
Yeah, I mean, in an asymmetrical situation like this, you just do the best you can to take one of the enemy assets out of play, either by killing it or line of sighting it. So I think they're just basically trying to get away from UFOs. and that could have worked.
Oh man.
Joey is alone with Perseus here right now.
And this did not go the way I expected it to. But yeah, it's a question of, I guess, how much health Joey has left. Perseus didn't.
Yes,
really
and
good job
Atlas
these
can
days.
definitely win a 1v2.
Man.
I've seen that multiple times this weekend.
Yeah,
But he's getting hit in
That
the
was-
back. That doesn't look good.
that was super unfortunate that Perseus would just get completely
Oh, it
caught
looks
out
like
on
he
his
got
own.
the shadow cut. Alright, well, this is looking pretty bad for Euphos at this point.
Good lord.
Kit Fox running into a building. Into a
Was that
nuke.
mid-range? Oh my god.
Poor guy.
I guess it's a question of how much armor Joey has left, but oh, he lost one of his arms too. Good god. They're both staring at each other, so I'm assuming they have to be low. Like they both have to be pretty low. I'm just trying to get the extra damage in.
Yeah, Euphos is desperately trying to avoid damage and play for time, but his footwork is not going to save him, I don't think.
I haven't seen the UAC-20 or the MRM's fire. I think Joey must be out of ammo or something.
Yeah, he must be.
He
was- maybe it's
Machine
just
guns
mid-range.
versus machine guns.
Oh my god. 2 HMGs versus 4. Oh my god.
This is what Living Legends is all about.
God. I wish I knew how much health Joey had left.
Oh, I could feel that when Euphos ran into the building. Oh my god.
Oh no. No, damn it. How much health did he have left? I have to know. See, let's see.
Okay, he had a decent amount of health left. 17% on an Atlas
Oh, man.
versus machine
That goes
guns.
a long way.
Yeah. But still,
That's
wow.
still remarkably close. Good lord.
Yeah. Do you happen to have footage of Kentax's 1v3 game?
I don't know if anyone. I wasn't streaming it. I wish I was.
Who was the opponent?
It was WR on Glory as well.
I might have been streaming that one.
I don't think so.
I
I
have
think you were FK at the time.
last weekend. Yeah, I have some coverage of those matches. Let me see if I can find it in a minute. So have you ever seen crazy things like that in Living Legends though? An assault against the light in a situation that just pops up nobody was expecting. How do you,
Pubs all the time.
how do you deal with something like
I've been
that?
on both ends of that situation.
How do you adapt as a pilot?
Well, you know, you got to play to whatever you have that the other person doesn't. If that is a high alpha strike that allows you to shield for a long time, then you know you have to shield for a long time. If that is high damage per second, that means you have to win by applying pressure. If that's mobility, that means you have to win by avoiding damage. You just have to use whatever tools you have at your disposal to get any kind of advantage you can. Euphos definitely had a very tough time there.
He did a
Without
hell of a job though.
Yeah, he really
That's his remaining
tried.
MPL arm. Also.
He made Joey work for it.
All right, I got one more video for you here. This is the best 12th VR WR match I've got available. So maybe take a look at that and see how that goes, and then we'll proceed to our next segment.
Yeah. Let's see. This might be the one.
In this one, Kentax is in a Sunder, and it has a pretty good.
Yes,
Oh
this is the one.
yes.
The video
Yeah,
angles
that's the
got
one.
best, and I think I might be the only one that has this match. I'm not sure, but let's take a look. All right, get ready to click. Click 1,
Is
2,
the-
3. All right, here we go.
Is the camera fixed?
No, it changes later.
Okay, good.
All right, so
Yeah.
So this is the security cam footage, as I like to call it. It changes in about 2 minutes in. So tell us just about Glory. What makes this map a map, and what strategy do you need to be ready for?
Oh man, Glory. Well, Glory kind of stresses me out compared to other maps because I find it difficult to predict what someone's going to do. You can really build almost any kind of strategy you want. It's just a matter of playing to the right parts of the map and having the right timing, and kind of hoping that your opponent doesn't counterpick and go to the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, there's a lot of choke points and also a lot of open ground, and the sight lines are pretty harsh. And if you peek in the wrong place at the wrong time, one of your teammates can get instantly picked off without any warning, and, well, you know, GG.
Well, as we jump into this here shortly, you're going to see Bob getting hit pretty hard. This is a crazy match upcoming. The video angles aren't the greatest, but I saved it for last for a reason, because Kentax does go pretty crazy in the Sunder, and it's just glory. It always seems like half the matches are on that. You go over a hill, you run into your opponent.
Yeah, it's a matter of what distance you are from your opponent that really makes it. Also, when I was looking at the list at the beginning, I was because I was watching this match, I thought that like WR list was by far way better, because the Atlas was like, the Atlas is basically just so much more armor than the Sunder is. Both teams had a Bushy Bravo, the LBX one. And the third asset was Chimera Charlie for WR and a Goblin Alpha for Wolf.
Alright, so the camera perspective just shifted for me.
Yep.
Same here.
Okay, so we just finally made it to the Bushy. The initial trade was like super good for WR. They got angle isn't super good, but you can see they're focusing on their fire. Kentax could only really get like kind of jump. He was just kind of like doing jump sniping stuff, so he was preserving his armor, but he wasn't doing all that much damage. There was a goblin in the water, which is what I believe what everybody's shooting at right now. That tanked most of the fire, but died pretty quickly.
And I like this, that eventually we come up to WR just tries to reposition a little bit and kind of like check everybody's okay, come up with a plan, not just rush into the enemy. Sometimes
the Atlas got called really hard.
Sometimes a good match requires patience. That can be the difference.
But you can't leave it up either. So Serial taking some hits here. Dimos just gets destroyed on this volley. And 12th starts to catch up here on the damage that dealing. Damos goes around the edge, and 12th's teammates are able to put a number on him as Bob gets some good shots on the sun.
Jump jetting with a 90-ton asset in a small match like this, it's a lot of things to keep track of. Overheating, jump jets, spreading damage.
So there goes Bob. Bob did an outstanding job.
And the end of this match is just insane.
Firepower to retaliate. I don't know what happened to Kentax's teammates. At some point, they do go down.
I'm very curious how much damage Kentax suffered in the first exchanges, because at this point he's the only one I think left on the team.
Yeah, I'm really curious how much armor Kentax had left at this point when he's alone. We'll have to ask him.
Oh, there goes Bob.
Serial here, so Kentax just getting destroyed. Dimos still might be up here.
And you know, Kentax, he's played a lot of organized games, and I've been in more than one where he's the last player alive in something sneaky like a long-range hovercraft, or you know, a jumping mech with a 360 torso like a light mech, and he plays for time, he draws it out, he pokes and avoids damage, and somehow he pulls these amazing victories out of the jaws of defeat.
From the other perspective, Serial mascot, 50 tons, his opponent heavier. What are you supposed to do here?
Well, you just gotta swarm the guy, and everyone attack all at once.
This is rough for him though, so because the his Chimera is the MRM 31, which means that the reason why Kentax is jumping at him is to try and min-range. Also rough because you can see sometimes that like his MRMs and his PVC goes like really wild, the Chimeras I mean. Because he has massive amounts of screen shake. He did a really good job of timing when his shots were. So even though I think he doesn't have that much armor left, like he's just doing an excellent job mitigating like the return fire. Whatever damage he's taking is something he can afford to. Serial was going like a little bit too evasive, I think. Like, but I also don't know exactly how much damage both of them had sustained.
And unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that because that was the last
it's
match
over.
of the first weekend. Yeah, so there's some highlights. We had some games stand out. I don't think that there were too many matches that were necessarily boring or anything. And if there were like one-sided match or anything, we got people into the next battle so fast. You got to keep your head always thinking about the next fight. So we've got this. We've got a little bit more in our bag that we're going to be trying. We're going to work on the schedule a little bit, and it sounds like there's interest from the teams. We're just working on a time. But later on, we have the round robin complete now, and we have our top 4. And we talked the whole time that, well, on the second weekend, well, now the third weekend, I don't know. We'll get you the dates later, but we're going to invite the top 4 teams: BAA Guardians, Wolverines Reborn, Jade Falcon Guards. Hey, that's you guys. And SJ Mostly Heartless to come in and play the championship bracket, which is a little more traditionally, at least bracket wise, it's actually a bracket versus the round robin, and it'll be a single elimination for the championship game, double elimination for the whole thing, and the teams will match up against each other, and probably the seeding, BAA Guardians 1, Wolverines 2, Falcons 3, and Mostly Heartless 4 will probably come into play. So when we get this done, we'll have a bracket set up. We'll have a semifinal, probably best 2 out of 3. And then at that point, it turns into like it was this weekend, where we do the C-bill bans and the map bans, and we'll have new restrictions, so it'll be different. There'll be more variety for the C-bills, and more variety. But that was one of the things that you play a full 7-round thing like we just did. So some of your strategy can get a little bit repetitive at times, right? I mean, like Leeko said, we saw a bunch of Bushwhacker A's in this match, in this tournament. I know we saw a lot of Uller A's. I think that's just kind of the way it worked. But let's take a few minutes, break down what were some of the more popular things that you were seeing in your lists or facing against you mech-wise, and some of the more popular maps, and why you think that might have been given with the restrictions set up the way they were.
Honestly, like whenever I saw like the same sets of assets, often I think it was more like that a team would gravitate towards those things. Like it was pretty rare, I think, where I would see like different teams taking exactly the same builds, like on the same maps or same restrictions. It was like, for example, like SJ was really partial to certain specific assets. So like Architect would almost always take like a Bushy Alpha when there was that slot available for his team. But like there were definitely other teams that like wouldn't always choose the same type of things when those slots were available. Though there were like a few trends that we saw. Like the highest buy brackets were like the first weekend. It was probably the single most popular pick. Like I don't have exact tabulations yet, but I can say like the highest buy bracket, or at least the one with the 139k buy slot, was chosen very, very, very often the first weekend, and barely this weekend. I think a lot of that was because of assault tanks. People just didn't really want to deal with them, so they would end up buying it, either banning it, or they just would try avoiding it. Otherwise, like there were some specific sets of seedable restrictions and maps that you would see similar stuff. Where, for example, like kind of in the 105 clan only thing, you would often see like on the top buy a Masakari Golf or a Thor Echo. Only very rarely would you see something else, because like you would need a pretty specialized thing to counter those specific assets. I'm trying to think if there's like any other like even like some of the teams that like tend to gravitate towards the same assets. Like there were very few like lists where you could kind of predict what they were going to do. WR had a couple where they would always take a behemoth on jungle if they ever got the 139k, and they would, as Leeko alluded to earlier, 2 Hewitts on Dune is really, really scary if you
2 Hewitts on Dune.
Yeah, on a very specific price point, the 104 bracket. I think also the 105.90 would work as well, but yeah, just the idea of like taking stuff that covers really long sight lines and has a lot of armor, gets the first shots off, that kind of deal. But there's like no other teams that did this, I think. I think Bashar's team did it once. They had like an Anaconda and something else on Glory one time. Yeah, like overall, those like the repetitive assets would mostly be stuff that like a team would just fall into a rhythm to, and it would just be stuff that was comfortable for them.
Yeah, I would say the metagame was pretty diverse. Like Direwolf said, repetition was less. Oh, everyone's taking this one thing, and more a team figures out what their optimal comp is for a certain C-bill set, and then just does that every time they get it, which is what my team did. It really worked. We figured out what worked for us, and then we're like, all right, why reinvent the wheel? We're not going to play four-dimensional chess about what we think the enemy's going to pick and overthink everything and try some weird strategy. We're going to fall back on what we're comfortable with.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a total list or a map list to pull from? Oh, that works too.
It's in the drop calc link in there. Open it up to drop calculator, and on the right side under battle report dump.
Battle report dump. Oh man, I want glory. Glory's gone. Oh, we'll live.
These days has been
Just skim over them a little bit because it's a lot of numbers. But the one that I really want to see is something that's light. Any restrictions that are kind of like only assets like 45k or under, or like 50k maximum, because there were a lot of the brackets this time around. They were kind of scattered. Like you would have like a big asset or like a heavy, like Intersphere or Clan Heavy, or like maybe a Intersphere Assault or something, like kind of in the low, like in the high 90s, early 100s, whatever. And then something really light like 45k, and then something in the middle like 60 odd, 70 odd, whatever. But something that's like only light assets would be a little bit of a different flavor, because previously like the other ones, it's like what light asset complements everything else you have, not so much like building a whole list out of that. And there's a ton to choose from, and it varies on every map. That's like one thing that I would really look forward to. A couple in here that seem to fit that much.
Yeah, I agree. I really wanted to try taking Pumas, but I always ended up taking something like an Oro or a medium mech instead. So I would really like an opportunity to play some more focused light games and some more focused heavier games.
For me, which was there you Uller C.
As in,
Was the one with
Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal actually. Something like as an ammo being like it's effectively free. So it's like if you buy an asset, you don't have to worry about adding the cost of ammo.
Good to hear. I'm happy to see you able to contribute more than missiles, because I remember seeing you in pubs and I just see you run around backcapping because that's the only thing you can help with.
Only thing I can do. But
well,
now,
yeah,
no.
nice. I look forward to seeing you in some more fights.
Me too.
I mean, not to say backcapping wasn't helpful.
There is one that I shilled for. Overlord Knight was something that SJ Cairo recommended to me. I was like, oh, I played this map once or twice. I want to see what it's like. I want to. So I fired up a local server and I looked at it and I'm like, damn, this looks really fun to play in single life. So that's just something I think would be really interesting. I have no idea how it would play, honestly. I just remember Chaos March games on it. But just like the general, it seems like a super dynamic place. I feel like you could probably build a lot of lists that do different things there.
I think Alshane and Hell's Gate are pretty reliable maps. It might be nice to see those. And Forest Valley is there too. They can have sort of interesting extreme range games on that map, which we haven't really seen at all this tournament. Which those can be good or bad, but most of the maps we have in the tournament are pretty short range.
Yeah, Frostbite was the major exception to that, I think.
Yes.
I also think Carbon can also be played long range. Like today, the very last match that was played was Bashar's team versus SJ, and like it was kind of a little bit strange to me because like both teams were kind of doing this thing where they were sitting on hills, but the Guardians team didn't actually like have something to leverage that too much. They were still limited to like 700 meters, 750 meters, or whatever. So, like, if a team actually wanted to build something 900 meters plus, they could have on that map. It's just kind of a matter of I think most teams weren't really comfortable with doing it. Forest Valley is like one where you really have to build long range. And I think Frostbite 2 is also like something that for example, like the match that I play against Leeko, like we were trying to do like 1200 meter stuff and it worked reasonably well, except for when we screwed up our positioning at some point. But it wasn't like the same kind of like extreme range long distance trading that you're always doing like on Stone Rose or Forest Valley.
Okay, Red, what has been your favorite asset as of late?
as of late.
As
At this...
of late, as of recently. My bad.
Okay, sorry. You can Locus
2 Hewitts on Dune.
A.
2 Hewitts on Dune. Kicked my ass.
Oh man, 2 Hewitts
Against-
on Dune.
Versus WR.
My 2 Hewitts on Dune was last weekend. For me personally, the Smoke Jaguars put up the best fight against us, but I think the most stressful individual round was our round against the dev team featuring Direwolf team on TSA Frostbite, because that map can be played kind of mid-range or extreme range depending on where you go, and we found them on open terrain and we were outranged, so that was really bad. We were hard countered. They had a superior position. We took a lot of damage before we were able to respond. We had to duck and go around a different way, and usually in that situation it's very difficult to pull a win out, but we managed to do it. It was very stressful. It took a long time, but we succeeded in the end.
Yeah, I will say that, like, I was definitely positioning it probably a bit more aggressively than I should have towards the end. But there was also like some really serious miscommunication at the end where we didn't understand. Like, one of our team members spotted the main body of your team, but we didn't know how far away they were, because like we thought we had a pretty good vantage point, that we knew that like, okay, for their like this distance it's all right, but then they were like 400 meters, which is like, ah crap, we are not ready for this. So we had to suddenly just realize like, ah crap, like this is probably game over if we don't deal with the push perfectly and like pick our targets right. And ultimately, I think that we didn't, because I was kind of gambling on being able to kill your summoner early, which I knew was going to be like a problem, because there's basically 2 really hard targets. It's like either you choose an up armored vulture, which can spin 360 forever and shield literally forever, or the Thor, which can jump jet away. So I called the Thor because I know that we had gotten a bunch of EAA TMs on you, but still did a good job shielding. We weren't entirely sure which component I think was weakest, and just we didn't put up enough damage.
Yeah, you did a lot of damage to me in our first encounter before we closed in on you.
Yep.
I was not super confident about our ability to win.
Yeah. Realistically, probably should have just waited on a specific part of the map with longer sightlines. The hope was that like I could do something harassing, but again, I think it probably would have been better if like maybe only me did that, so that way I could have just quickly jumped out of danger. The rest of my teammates couldn't do the same.
For me, I got to play for Clan Sea Fox against 12th VR early in the tournament the first weekend. The second weekend, I got to play for 12th VR versus the Mercs. And in both cases, really good commanders in Resk and Snowgiven, respectively. And it was just kind of nice to play with a team that's a little bit different than command structure, a little bit different, and hear their veteran thing, and just go here, shoot this, and for me it was just stressful. Like, okay, the commander says go here, don't bump into the mech, shoot that, but it was a lot of fun just seeing the different drop commanders. If you pop on a team with somebody that you don't play with and competitive necessarily all the time, and hearing the and playing with the different drop strategies, that was the exciting and hard part for me too, to make sure that I did well and didn't let them down, hopefully. But we had some mercs, but this tournament was very surprising for certainly anything I've been involved with in a long time, that all the teams that showed up had pretty consistent membership over 2 weekends, and the big thing, every single team completed the tournament. We did not have to forfeit any matches, and we were able to get things done in pretty decent amounts of time. I think the overall tournament was roughly about 10 hours, give or take, for the whole round robin, and that's pretty good for 28 matches and getting everything set up.
Yeah, for the future, we've already basically figured out some ways to make this sort of thing be more tractable for one weekend, which is nice. But it was, I think, extremely well done.
Now,
overall, I'm quite happy with how it went.
Now, Leeko, my understanding is that this game is free, this Mechwarrior Living Legends thing, and that
yes, it is,
and that it receives updates every now and again. Can you give us a sales pitch on why people should check it out, how they can get it, and maybe some examples of some recent stuff that was added that's awesome sauce?
Sure, thanks for asking, Duelist. Well, Mechwarrior Living Legends is free, and you should check it out because it is the best, most competitively balanced, most nuanced multiplayer Mechwarrior game out there. And you can dive on in, and there's a lot of different play styles, and everything you've ever wanted to play is viable in this game. And we are updating the game semi-regularly. We are volunteers, so sometimes we have to take breaks. But we did just recently update the game with some new assault tanks and assault mechs, and we've got some other exciting things on the way.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Direwolf, it's my understanding that you're running events pretty regularly. Can you give us a preview of some of the stuff that some of the events that you've been putting on, and maybe a few things that you're excited about in the near future?
Sure. My shtick in Living Legends is that I run weekly events that I call Merc Nights, which are usually just it's either single life, which is similar to like what this tournament format was, but not limited to 3-person teams, or it's terrain control, which is basically just what you regularly do as a player in Living Legends. You hop on public servers, you play capturing points and tickets, you die, respawn, etc. So usually the only thing that my events are is that the only thing that like makes organized terrain control unique is that everybody's sitting in a voice channel together. Both teams rather, they have their own team voice channels and they're talking to each other. And it seems like a fairly simple thing, but it raises the level of play immensely. Having everybody able to talk to each other relatively seamlessly means that you have you're able to cover a lot more of the map. You're able to have more cohesive strategies. I think it's the single best way to learn the game. I'm very happy that I can host them every weekend, either on Saturdays or Sundays. There is a dedicated channel on the Living Legends Discord that has all my dates every month. There will be, I think this month's dates are going to be they're a little bit in flux because of tournament, but stay tuned for that.
And on my end, I used to be known for hosting a couple events, and involved with the 3v3 here. Glad to be along for the ride, and some things in the pipeline. We're working with some people, but it's an outstanding community of volunteers, both on the dev team and people that help out on the wiki team, and hosting the WR TeamSpeak here, W-R, if people want to come on and say hi. And so there's some things in the pipeline on my end, but this has been these are Clan Jade Falcon Direwolf, Clan Jade Falcon Leeko. They have been an outstanding asset to the community, and it was wonderful for them to take time out of the busy Saturday night to join us here. So we will have the championship bracket round coming up to wrap up this awesome 3v3 tournament coming up. As soon as we have the date and the time, we will get it to you. We're suspecting right now that next weekend, and maybe Saturday, maybe with Sunday as a backup, we'll get you the info. And as for coverage of the tournament, oh my goodness, I will try to put it in the show notes, but we have Leeko live streamed here. I know that I think did Glarg cover any today?
Sadly, he wasn't able to make it.
Not today.
Okay.
He was able to cover the first half of the bracket or so last weekend.
Oh yeah, great video. I watched the whole thing. Really good job of him and Marius. Something I learned that I forgot to do today is I need a dedicated helper person for when running the stream to just like Marius was really smart last weekend. He went to the servers and found out when the next matches were upcoming, and then they would go and play. So like, okay, we've wrapped up here. We go to the next server. So.
Yep. Bunge is really good for that. It shows you which teams are playing on what servers, and it also shows which matches are in progress.
And it was good. Nice. And it was great this weekend. Absolutely. And I know Morbo covered it last weekend. I found a couple of different streams, so I'll try to link those as much as possible. And we're going to have one big post-game show here sometime next week, I think, when this wraps up. And we'll have what we did tonight, but on steroids, where we just sit there and maybe watch an hour of highlights and break everything down for you. So still lots of coverage. And oh my goodness, recorded videos. If you like them, we got you covered, because I operated 2 different cameras today. And if you want to watch last weekend's videos, there are edited videos that we've shared in the show notes from every single match that I was able to cover last weekend, and we've got you covered if you like Twitch as well. The game, mechlivinglegends.net. Get it, play it. We hope to see you around. Clan Jade Falcon Direwolf, Clan Jade Falcon. Leeko, thank you very much for joining us. Long live Living Legends, and good luck to all the teams in the championship bracket. Congratulations to all the teams that made it, that might not make it in the bracket. They're all winners here, and a special thanks to all the volunteers that make the game, play the game, support the game, and everything else. This is not a one-man or one-person show, but it's an awesome community, and you should come check us out sometime. All right, say goodnight, guys.
Good night, Leeko. All right, and have a
Good
good night,
night,
Duelist.
everyone.
Thank you so much, Duelist.
This has been Duelist on the MechMaster channel, bringing you the games as only I can. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you for the championship bracket in about a week.